Welcome to the Reality Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Brian Scott. This podcast is dedicated to the spirits who believe life is meant to be magical and fun. It contains advanced viewpoints for the multidimensional human beings of the 21st century. Here, we venture to share the very mysteries of self and reality. Our primary purpose is to reawaken your sense of fascination and awe towards life and infinity, to shatter your rigid belief systems and ways of seeing the world. Our goal is to hack reality, unleash your potential, and open unlimited possibilities of health, wealth, and relationships in your life, and to explore the very mysteries of the universe. Today's episode, we're going to talk about Source. We're going to talk about infinity. And before we do that, I just want to talk about thoughts. The idea, again, that thoughts can be measured, that they are an actual thing. Thoughts become things. According to Dr. Nelson, depending on whether the person focusing the thought uses calming or activating imagery, for instance, they can create a greater sense of relaxation or anxiety in the targeted person. The effect is so distinctive that it can be measured by galvanic skin response. Additionally, we have found that thoughts are made of energy. Each of us is like a radio station, constantly broadcasting the energy of our thoughts, which emanate from us and fill the immensity of space, touching all of those around us for good and ill. That's a pretty amazing thought. Let me just say that again. Each of us is like a radio station, constantly broadcasting the energy of our thoughts, which emanate from us and fill the immensity of space, touching all those around us for good or ill. Shouldn't we be aware of these thoughts and take control of them instead of randomly just letting our thoughts drive the bus? Energies with atoms may be conscious. According to a recent book I read, The Nature of Consciousness by Jerry D. Wheatley, subatomic particles are not really particles. They are instead a quantum or quantity of something that is indefinable at this point in time. We do not know what it is, that it is a quantum measurement of. It is simply a subatomic particle. Quantum physics, or the study of these small units of energy, was started, of course, we know about what Albert Einstein did and his contemporaries. These scientists devised so many different ingenious experiments to discover the nature of these energies. What was the energy that we were seeing? What can it be differentiated? And one of the most startling aspects of quantum research reveals, as I've discussed multiple times on this podcast, that these energies behave in different ways depending on what the observer is expecting to see. And that important part is what they're expecting to see. Many physicists believe that the only explanation for these mysterious behaviors is that the energies within the atom are themselves intelligent to some small degree. And we see subatomic particles do something called quantum jump. They jump from one place to another. We've actually taken particles and integrated them together, entangled them together, just as we can become entangled with people, or you can become entangled to objects. And they've destroyed one subatomic particle long distance away from another one. And both of them disappeared at the same time, which is an amazing thing. And the space between them is faster than light, because they both did it at the same time. Not the speed of light would have taken much, much longer. So we know that there's a place, that they're acting as if they're in the same system. They're coherent. They're in one system. Where is this system where they're joined together? And more physics theories are looking at this in terms of the escalating universe, the way it works. And I find this completely fascinating, that these little pieces of light may be intelligent. And so it gives us the idea of the source field, the unified field, the oneness, the total consciousness. There is this energy, there is a thing, and it's becoming more and more definable. It is a place. As Vadim Zeland says, it's the alternate space, a place where all information is possible, all possibilities are possible. Every experience is logged in. Old fables call it the Akashic record. Erwin Laszlo calls it the Akashic experience. We are accessing something so incredible and divine that infinite intelligence can be located within every subatomic particle. The thing that we are separated from is the things around us that lock us into this reality. And that is the power of words. Just talking about the words are really a part of the electromagnetic field, just as light is. Sound in the form of words can be somnolescent, meaning that they can literally light you up. They can brighten you. They can glow. These words, as you think and speak about business comes to you. The power to increase your personal worth and therefore your personal value. Remembering money magnets is like depositing cash in the bank. Every word is a new deposit. Once you realize the true power of your words, you can go all the way back to when you were born, and you can see how careless you've been with the words that you use when you talk to yourself and when you talk to others. Because one sentence, one phrase can legitimately change the life of another or yourself. So separate from that, we know that these words are powerful. We know that thoughts exist, and we know that thoughts are energy. And now we know that the subconscious mind is communicating with this quantum world all the time. And these supercomputers in our brain are literally creating reality from our own beliefs. According to an article, A Modular Model of Mind Matter Manifestation in the Pear Technical Note in 2001, research involved indicated it appeared the unconscious mind somehow had the ability of communicating with the subtangible physical world, the quantum world of all possibility. This marriage of unformed mind and matter would then assemble itself into something tangible in the manifest world. The universe as we know is a constant chaotic interplay of subatomic particles. I discussed chaos theory in the last podcast, but we also know that these particles are all around us. And what we believe is stable, when you look at your skin or the table or the desk or the bed that you're on, you can see the interplay that they are not stable, they're static. And a maelstrom of subatomic particles work in coherent flows of thought structures and energy points, talking about pendulums. So the definition of 0-point energy, you can see 0-point energy referred to in science fiction. Of course, in Incredibles, they use 0-point energy. It's also referred to as the vacuum. The 0-point field was called zero because the fluctuations in the field are still detectable in temperatures of absolute zero. So you freeze something all the way down to absolute zero, and you can still see movement of energy in that state. The lowest possible energy state where all matter has been removed and nothing supposedly left to make any motion, 0-point energy was the energy present in the emptiest space. The lowest possible energy, out of which no more energy could be removed, the closest the motion of subatomic matter ever gets to is zero. So also, it's interesting because this space is open to all time. Imagine that this source field exists as we know that time is relative. And so that you could literally stand outside of time, going faster than the speed of light. All of time then exists in a field, and every decision you make leads all the way to the end. So you are not necessarily manifesting or creating something. You are just accessing something that already exists. It either exists in the informational quantum field, or it actually exists in real life. One reality laid out over another. So in one case, Dr. Bem would see if people could remember words, and he would send words back and test these words out. And he would give people a test, and then they would study the test, and they would look at the test, and then they would find out that if they told people to study about words in the future, that they could affect the results of the experiment in the past. Another experiment played with emotional shock and erotic pictures, and people could remember the shock. So what's happening is that we can actually affect our past and what we remember from our past. We're constantly sensitive aware, especially the more recent memories. So understand, the quantum field is an invisible energy field of information. Or you could say a field of intelligence or consciousness that exists beyond space and time. Nothing physical or material exists there. It's beyond anything you can perceive with your senses. This unified field of energy and information is what governs all the laws of nature. The question is, can we experience this quantum realm? Can we go into it? Because because this realm has access to all the information and all the energy and all the solutions. Imagine if there is 1 trillion worlds in the universe, and each one is a part of this group consciousness, and we can see the solutions to problems that have already played out on other universes. All of this is available to us. We can access it through the time stream of total awareness. But there is a catch. There is a catch, and that is you have to be able to go into the void fully and completely. Soon I will have the void meditation. But I guarantee you want to understand why the void is happening, and I recommend you go into the void source with knowledge of what it is. We've talked about in the first podcast that time is not linear. In fact, time is not linear, as we've been thinking all along, and everything around us is ever present, according to a recent article that I posted on the Reality Revolution group. If you check that out, I try to post as many articles as I can related to the stuff we're talking about here. Feel free to join. I'd love to see your interactions there. So research indicates that time should be regarded as a dimension of space-time, as theory holds, so it does not pass us by us in some way because space-time doesn't. Instead, time is a part of a uniform, larger fabric of the universe, not something moving around inside it. According to a scientist, everything that has happened and everything that will happen is in fact occurring at this very moment as time is positioned in space. The new theory by Dr. Bradford Scow, an associated professor of philosophy at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, indicates that if we were to look down on the universe, we could actually observe time and events spreading out in all directions. Think about that. Imagine standing outside of our universe and being able to look at a microscope at one particular part of it. But when you're outside of the universe, it would be all interplaying as one object. All of time would be there. So the new theory proposed by Dr. Bradford Scow suggests that there's a place in time where you can look at that. So what does this mean? Well, it suggests that time as we know it is incorrect. In other words, it's not linear as you've been thinking along. In fact, everything around us is ever present. So understand that time is like a lake, and every decision you make ripples outward in circular waves going backwards and forwards in time. You can affect what's happening in your past. If you have a sudden, incredible thing happen, go back and teach yourself about it. And you'll find that you'll learn greater wisdom and greater things, and coincidence happen when you do this. Don't believe what I'm saying. I'm telling you to try this technique. So what does it mean? It suggests that time as we know it is just not linear. And the theory is detailed in his book, Objective Beginning, when he writes, when you ask people, tell me about the passage of time, they usually make a metaphor. They say time flows like a river, or moving through time like a ship sailing through the sea. And that is really what it is. It's just like the lake. So understand, you can send ripples out. We're trying to ride these ripples when we parallel reality surf. And soon I'll be giving my technique that I call the Aura technique, alternate universe reality activation, or alternate universe reality actualization. I haven't decided yet. Maybe you guys can help me decide. So the alternate space, defined by Vadim Zilin, is the alternate space is a material information structure. He says we have access to it through our hearts and minds, and that is what reality transurfing is accessing this alternative space. It is an infinite field containing information on all possible scenarios of any event that could ever take place. One could say the alternative space contains absolutely everything. We can hardly guess the form this information takes, and yet our purpose here does not require us to know this. The important thing is to establish that the alternative space serves as a template or coordinate grid for the movement of all matter in time and space. An information structure exists. You do not have to believe that there's actual parallel universes, but we know at a quantum level there's information on all of these universes, and the information is what we're accessing, because in that field it's real. An information structure exists that contains an infinite number of potential alternatives, each within its own unique script and scenery. The process of transformation into physical reality corresponds to that laid down in the information structure. Everything recorded in the field of information has always been there. So when they look at the Quran or the Bible and they talk about the book of the ages, how everything is written into one divine future, that we have no control over our fates. Well, imagine that's true. But the only thing missing from that is that we have access to all of our fates. And each one is a chapter in a book that you can follow till the end. We are in our own enhanced and incredible search your own adventure syndrome. Just like we have access over every decision and we can find the ending. It's an interactive play. Thought energy transforms the possible alternatives in the alternate space into reality. So as Zealand also inquires and confirms that thought energy transforms possible alternatives into physical reality. This statement is correct because reality can be manifested in any form defined by consciousness. Evidence of this hypothesis can be found not only in everyday life, but in the experiments of quantum physics. For our purposes, the specific mechanism by which thought energy interacts with the alternative space is of no great consequence. It is not yet clear by what means the transfer of information takes place, whether on an energetic level or by some other means. For convenience sake, we will simply work with the idea that thought energy lights up a certain sector of the alternative space, as a result of which one alternative is transformed into physical reality. Waves of thought energy find the sector in the alternative space that correspond in quality. The alternative of that sector is then made manifest on the physical level, marking the process of how consciousness creates reality. So imagine that model that you spread out a wave of thought energy, and you end up creating reality from the alternate space of information. So we're doing that every day with every decision that we make. Our goal is to learn how to choose reality, to make our own choice. And there is a balance to this. Reality has such diversity of form because the number of alternatives for its manifestation is limitless. Any starting point for one or another form of manifestation results in a chain. It is not a single thing we are manifesting, but a group, a flow, a movement of momentum, a chain of cause and effect relationships. One could say that reality unfolds through life depending on the selection of the original reference point. Going back to what I talked about chaos theory and catastrophe theory, a lot of times they can trace the origins of chaos to a single point. So controlling these modifications and understanding these different variables will give us power. You have the right to choose precisely because an eternal number of alternatives exist. No one is preventing you from choosing the destiny you would feel comfortable having. Managing your own destiny comes down to one single thing: making a choice. And we always get what we choose. You always get it. The alternative space contains an infinite number of possible lifelines for every individual and every person. No one should feel hard done by this. If they do not like your fate, if you're out there and you don't like your fate, you have the right to choose. The problem is that we don't know how to choose. The world has such diversity. I meet people that I can help them achieve any dream, and they don't even know what their dream is. They don't have that purpose. They haven't defined what it is that would drive their train into the future. The world has such diversity of possibilities that it can feel overwhelming if you think about it with your conscious mind. Anyone can find whatever their heart desires. Even in the academic world, life manifests the side of which we wish to see it. Idealism holds that the world is an illusion and life agrees. Materialism says the opposite, and again, the world has nothing against that. People argue with each other, trying to force others to accept their relationships to the world, and yet the world shows that they are all right. Is that not wonderful? The alternative space, the void source, is what I will call it, is the so-called illusion and material realization that is meant by physical reality. We always get what we choose. The infinity of worlds within worlds exists simultaneously. The center of the universe is at the same time to be found in every point, because every point is surrounded by an infinity on all sides. This is daunting to believe in and understand, but it's true either way. All events exist concurrently for the same reason that the center of the universe is located in every point of the same time. This is difficult to imagine. Try to wrap your head around that. If something did wrap its head around that, it would become infinitely intelligent, and it would be the source. And you understand where I'm getting. It's difficult to imagine, but it's impossible to grasp infinity in one moment of contemplation. Even more convoluted theories have been designed to which claim the visible universe becomes a finite sphere in fourth-dimensional space. But that does not help particularly, because theoretically speaking, an infinite number of dimensions could exist. Unable to clearly imagine all of this, we have to be content ourselves with a narrower perspective and at least pretend that we understand something of these theories. And how can we really say that we can't? We can only look at results of how we interact with these ideas. Here's a way to grasp an infinite number of universes being created. To an external observer, a universe might appear to last for just one brief moment, like a particle birthed in the extinguished in a vacuum, whereas we as eternal observers perceive the universe to have been in existence for about a billion years. So imagine that. Imagine that when we are creating mini black holes with the Large Hadron Collider, when we're putting these two particles at incredible speeds to create a burst of energy that moves it into a black hole. Perhaps out of that black hole, which some theories believe that we are living as a mirror on the end of a black hole, a singularity. Well, maybe that creates an entire universe that literally lasts trillions of years in that moment and then disappears. And imagine that we're constantly creating new universes. With every collapse of a star, a whole universe creates. And within that universe, each star within that universe collapses and creates an entire universe. And each universe inside of that keeps on going through the microcosm, flying through the microcosm and the macrocosm. It takes as long and seems as far as it does flowing through the boundless expanse of space. For if we shrink ourselves down, we would have the same level of infinity. At much lower levels, we can create these time-space distortions. Time, like space, goes on for infinity, whether you look backwards or forwards. Intervals of time can be infinitely large as they can be infinitely small. Any point within time intervals can be seen as a reference point, both sides of which extend into the infinity of time. Changing the reference point to another place within the time interval does not change the extent of infinity in either direction. So what I'm saying is to meditate on the idea of the void and to also meditate on the idea of true infinity. The problem is the mind and the heart are getting access to two different kinds of information from this space. The heart only feels the emotions, and the head only understands the ideas. So we must move into some coherence between these two for true power to work. We live in our lower emotions, our sexual organs, our ability to survive, to eat, to survive. We live in these lower energy organs, and what happens is we create waves of energy that are like particle. And we are trying to create waves and access waves of potential that are waves and not particles, because in quantum physics, when light is wave, it is infinite, and that is the source field we're trying to connect to. Moving from the mind to the heart gives us access to this information, but we don't understand it because we think with our head. The mind is always busy with its own chatter. It has a logical explanation for everything and is constantly trying to control information. It picks up on vague signals from the heart, little tiny tinges of signals, symbols, which is not always capable of defining with the help of categories or words. We can't put words on these feelings. The vague feelings and knowledge, we try to describe them and define them, signaled by the heart, are drowned out by the vociferous thoughts of the mind. When the control over the mind is released, however, intuitive feelings and knowledge can break through consciousness. So we see people go into source when they're in flow, skiing down a hill, doing some extreme sport. Because in that moment, we have to divorce ourselves, skydiving, we have to divorce ourselves from the analytical mind and go right to the source. The signals of the heart are conveyed as an ambiguous premonition, which we call the inner voice. In moments when the mind is distracted, it allows you to experience the feelings and knowledge of the heart. This is what Vadim Zeland calls the rustle of the morning stars, the voice without words, the oneness, the reflection without thoughts, the sound without volume. When you hear this music, you know you have understood something, but still it has an elusive quality. Do not think so much. Feel and listen to your intuition. Everyone knows what intuition is. Everyone has sometime had the feeling that someone is about to arrive just before a visitor appears at the door, or when somebody's about to call and you pick up your phone. Has had the feeling that something's going to happen and then it does. Or the feeling that you simply know something that requires no explanation. The mind is constantly generating thoughts, and the voice of the heart is literally drowned out from birth by the thought churn, making it difficult to access intuitive knowledge. If you stop the train of thoughts and simply contemplate the emptiness, the void source, then I believe we can listen to Zeeland's rustle of the morning stars, the inner voice that has no words, the empty space, the alternate space, the void source. We can access the void source because we choose what we become. As Jason Silva says, as I speak, therefore I am. As I become. As I write, therefore I become. What I eat becomes what I become. Where I go becomes what I become. What you choose, you become. Many people have profound results. I do it when I try this technique. When I don't have any answers, sometimes this is the traveling through the source in the void. So I'm going to give you a little technique, and we're going to try to create a meditation around this so you understand what I'm trying to do. So if you ever had a situation that was so complicated, a person in your life, a business situation, something that is just incredibly difficult, and you don't have an answer. You don't have an answer. You've tried everything. You've gotten help. You've gotten counseling, whatever it is. It's one of those times when you just don't know. And I say, is there a possibility in the quantum field that already exists? Is there a possibility in the void source that already exists is a solution I have not thought of? I don't know the answer. I move to the unknown. You've done everything you possibly can to change the situation. You've gotten specialists. You keep on trying, and it still doesn't work. Understand your biology. Understand what's going on. Your brain is a memory bank, a record of everything you've experienced in the moment, and an archive of the past. That's what's happening here. They think of memories and thoughts, and we have emotions associated with it. Most people, they wake up in the morning and they get their brain working and activate circuits, which are memories of the past. That's the first thing that you do when you wake up, is you think of a memory of the past. If thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body, living by the same thoughts and same emotions creates reality. You wake up in the morning, and an entire state is in the familiar past. That familiar past, the biology that you're so used to, is in the past, makes you crave the predictable future. It is the survival part of you. You don't want the randomness. You want the predictability. You stay safe in the known. You crave the predictable future. You can predict the feeling. So that's what we do. We do what we know feels. It's not what feels good. We do what we know, the feelings that we know. So how you think and how you feel creates a state of being. The memories that you can call upon, easiest in your life, go back to those memories that you remember a long time ago. Those are your long-term memories. Now, you don't remember everything, but you have long-term memories. Look at those memories that you have and what is common to them all. I guarantee they're all linked to a strong emotion that you feel from the past that's altered the inside of you. It captures all the brain's attention, and it takes a snapshot, and it becomes a special thing. It becomes a slide, and you create a circuitry. We talk about what we think about. We think about it. We talk about it. We start to feel about it. We combine an image, and then we hardwire into ourselves, and then it becomes a feedback loop. And we talk about it, and we think about it. We think about it with others, and we create objects in our environment that reinitiate this feeling. The body again begins to believe it does not know the difference of what could possibly happen and what is possible for it. So it does not know the difference between the actual experience and just the emotion. It thinks the body is not seeing. Imagine the body is separate. Imagine that it's a different person, and it can't see. It's just feeling its way. And so it doesn't know whether you're actually feeling it or it's actually happening in real life. So if you think you're a failure, then you feel like a failure, and then the feedback loop goes on and builds on itself, and you condition yourself over thousands of pathways of circuits in your mind over and over 1,000,000 times, and the loop conditions the body to memorize the emotion. The body is literally in the past, because you're accessing memories of the past from the void, and you're using that to literally recreate the future you have now. Now, if that future is good and wonderful at the moment that you're in and you're grateful in now, then that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But if it's not, then you're creating a reality that you can make a substantial shift to, because you're focusing on the memories of the past. So when you see people that have crisis, you see people that have crazy things happen, and you have some crazy event happen and some crisis, and that's when they start to really question what's going on with themselves. They go to their lowest level. They stop watching TV. They start paying attention to their thoughts and the way they're acting, and they realize, oh my gosh, I've been suffering for literally decades, and I didn't even realize it. I got used to this emotion. I became addicted to it. It became my memory of the past, and I at least knew the suffering better than I knew what was in the unknown. You objectify your subjective self. The hardest part of change is going from the known into the unknown void source. That's why people aren't accessing it, doing it, because it's scary going into the unknown. The body starts to act like the mind. It's been conditioned to be the mind. It knows it has the power, so it causes the emotions, and it can literally tell you what to do. Once you change the body will fight you because it cannot predict the same moment. You will have feelings that will fight you against the reality you're starting to create because your body says no. Some people call this the ego. I think it's a combination of a number of factors. You have to be greater than your body, a greater will to recondition your body to a new mind. You wake up and look for all these experiences. We look for the same reaffirming future. Look, the same routine. Think about getting a coffee or tea, and you place consciousness outside of you. You hold your attention on that. Your body moves to its known. Do the same things every day. The body-mind goes into autopilot, and then you lose your free will. And you have a genetic destiny that's been programmed into you by daily habits and behaviors and thoughts and feelings. Your brain is a record of everything known. The moment you wake up and do the same things, the environment influences everything. The environment then becomes a neurological network. The environment starts to control you unconsciously. How you think and how you feel controls your life. And that is the quantum model of reality that I've been talking about at the beginning of this podcast. So every thought has a frequency, and you are thinking the same known thoughts. The only way to change their life, the only way to change your life or anybody's life is to change your energy. Every time you become conscious of an unconscious thought that is just guiding you or programming you. Every time you wake up in the script of the movie, become awake. Wake up inside of the movie that you're in. As you become aware and observant of your way of thinking, you will then be able to change reality. Just as you can become aware in a lucid dream. The more conscious you become, the less subconscious you are through the day. You're watching yourself, observing your body, going through these feelings, becoming aware of your palms get sweaty or your heart races. Where is it coming from? You move to a greater level of consciousness. How you think, how you act, and how you feel. The body is looking for a hit of chemicals that it's used to. Where you place your attention, you place your energy. Your body wants to be your mind. Stress puts it in survival. We overfocus, we shift our attention, we create multiple neural networks. The brain becomes incoherent. The rush of stress hormone draws from the invisible field and turns into a chemistry because we are contributing and broadcasting the feelings out into the invisible field. And we are then getting a response on how to create these chemicals that we are broadcasting like a mirror. We start to feel more like matter and then less like waves of energy. Matter you can fight, control, and predict, because you're sucked into the Newtonian laws of physics. You can launch that rocket and it will land on the moon in an exact spot based on the laws of gravity. That is the world of matter and particle. Matter you can fight, you can try control, you can try to predict it. We are limited in what we can do to change matter. The very nature of narrowing our focus separates us from everybody and everything. In the state of survival, you don't learn, you don't create, and that's the source. You don't open your heart. You're not vulnerable. You have no access to source. You get caught up in these chemicals, and in stress, you select the worst case scenario because that is survival. You condition your body. You are conditioned by the circuits firing in your brain. Over and over, the amygdala that fires in your brain as a matter of evolutionary habit of survival. If you look different than me, I experience a separation. As I separate myself more and more from other people, I begin to separate myself. And I become more and more material and less like wave as I connect it to everybody. You drag your body through space and time to a conscious point because you're matter trying to change matter. Your personality creates your personal reality. In order to change your reality, you have to change how you act, think, and feel. And that means you cannot do it with the same personality. Constant feedback loop of 95% is creating who you are. You have to open up your heart center to make it coherent with the brain. Every thought, everything we hear, We have to become zero with it. The 0-point field, the quantum field, the unified field, energy that connects everything, the consciousness and connecting all of us, the oneness, the wholeness, the universal mind, the infinite intelligence. Unified field theory explains how matter exists. Patterns of everything material exist at the speed of light. They slow down to become matter. They move down into density. We spend our whole life being someone, somebody in some time with certain things. Matter separates us from the unified field. It takes a long time for your dreams to happen. Think certain thoughts equals feelings you think in those centers. The body is being conditioned to the mind. Heart is the center of oneness, duality, polarity, creativity. Coherent brain and heart are required to access these higher frequencies. Lower through frequencies lead to a long time to make dreams come true. You produce the same energy every day, and your conditions never change. Think about the conditions or things that have not changed. What are your thoughts and feelings? You act unconsciously and broadcast the electromagnetic frequency. You have no effect on matter because you're in that particle energy state. There's a formula, according to Dr. Joe Dispenza. If you take attention off your body, off of people, off of things, off of material things, cell phone, attention of your home, work, everything that you have attention on that's guiding you, creating your reality, all the people, all the things, and you go into a void, you find the sweet spot of the generous present moment where the true possibilities of your universe exist right now. You disinvest in this reality and you move toward a unified field. You pass through all these emotions because you have to. They're there. Memories and frequencies that are controlling you, they come up. Most don't know how to make their way through, and you're riding a board on a surf. You may not have your balance. When you jump up on that surfboard, you try to ride it to the end. And the more you do it, the better you get. Going into the moment of no body, no thing, no time, disinvest in the known to the unknown where all possibilities exist. Anything traveling faster than the speed of light turns into energy, as Einstein talked about spooky action at a distance and how these particles were moving faster than the speed of light because they are one. You have to go from a narrow focus on matter and focus on the void of space, the void source. Open your awareness. Start a sensing space. No longer thinking and analyzing, activating circuits. No more of that. You suppress the memory bank of your known identity in the neocortex. You have to do it again and again, moving from beta to alpha, moving from alpha into theta, theta to delta, from the analytical mind, enter into the operating system. The signature is oneness and wholeness. Look into oneness. Look into the void. The brain becomes organized and integrates coherent. You produce coherency, and organized brainwave patterns can be seen on EEG and all different kind of measuring devices. If you pace your attention in heart, it creates elevated emotions that you broadcast outward. You create feelings of joy and bliss that you broadcast outward that come back to you in your life. It's incredible. You get rid of this. You don't take your pain there. No guilty, no worry, no envy, no jealousy, and take away the importance of the moment. And that's why I talk about importance, because it takes you away from source. Cross into the gratitude and joy and care and bliss and freedom and awe. That is where you are moving into the unified field. Once energy makes it into the heart, the condition for elevated emotion, once energy is in the heart and coherent, there's a measurable magnetic field in science. You become energy. Your body becomes energy, and you exist in a superpositional state amongst multiple dimensions, and you can tune into the frequency of the dimension and reality that you choose for yourself. The field and emotion can carry through the thought of your health, of your wealth. Practicing opening your awareness, your heart coherence will begin to get along with everybody. Because once you are one with everybody, you understand everybody. The hate that you have goes away. The understanding comes to you. There's a selflessness to this. You begin to give and trust and joy. You move away from the survival conditions of anger and fear, and you move to love. The known 3D universe has infinite space. We are moving to the fourth and fifth dimension. We experience time as we move through space. As we move body through space, we experience time. Everything in the material world moves through space. Bodies, things, places, people, objects are particles in the quantum world. We experience separation. We're waiting to feel lack, abundance. Place attention online, on linear time. place attention on linear time, place attention on one thing after another, then you go back to that world we talked about of Newtonian physics. But we can move into wave instead of the matter universe that we're talking about. No body, no thing, nowhere, no time, the realm of infinite amount of space. Linger there in the quantum world in the fifth dimension. Nothing physical, made up of thought, of infinite possibilities. Frequency, information, vibration, and light. Non-local wave functions spreading throughout infinite possibilities of unknown space. Infinite time, all existing in the now. As long as you don't react to your past, present reality after you're done, then you're no longer in the same energy as your past. And I'll be creating the Void Source meditation soon, maybe this week. So I'll see if you guys can experience the Void Source like I have. That is where you belong to your future. I promise you that you're just like your body follows your mind to the bathroom in the morning, because that is where your consciousness is, your energy and awareness is. Your body is following your mind to the known. If you keep putting energy and awareness into the future, in the present moment, your body will follow you into the future. Your body is going to follow you into the unknown. It is going to open up a door in the way that you have never thought of. You will have something incredible happen beyond anything that was in your realm of possibilities. Something so perfect, something so wonderful. It will bring you incredible joy when you are inside of this awareness. If you thought of it, if you would have done it, but you didn't. It wasn't aware in the quantum possibility. By going into the void source and finding it, you will find sometimes incredibly unlikely possibilities. It's going to come in a way that you least expect. That surprises you and leaves no doubt that it has come from a connection to the void source, to the greater mind. It's going to inspire you. It's going to help you overcome obstacles. And the more you do it, it'll inspire you to do it again and again. All you have to do is understand that all possibilities exist in the eternal now. When you get beyond your identity and your body, your present reality, the things you own, the place you need, beyond time itself, you unfold in the place where your thoughts are real. The thought of the problem that being resolved already exists and is just one of many potentials. And if you can just remember that you are outside of that problem, that it is already resolved, and feel the elevated state of that moment where it's resolved, a greater consciousness. You're outside. You've evolved out of it. You are in a new reality. You've shifted into a new existence, a new alternate universe reality activation, a new alternate universe reality activation, a new opportunity. You can stay in this present moment and memorize that feeling, to remember what that feels like. You're in the future, right in the present moment. If you hook into your body, and the longer you stay in the present moment, the more you're drawing your body to you. As long as you don't react, because what happens is people will do the void source meditation, and then they go back into their life and they begin reacting. And it can be a simple reaction of one or two things to something that was more like your other reality, and it pulls you right in. So just avoid reacting to some crazy things. And a lot of times when you do this, you have crazy events happen, because something that would have to occur that's dramatic can change you into another reality. When I've coached people to do this, it is a common theme that they have a sudden job change or a new experience very quickly. It is important not to react to these conditions, because sometimes the reaction to the initial part of the change causes you to move into the wrong direction, because they continue to create energy. And the thought of producing the same frequency, producing the same reality, nothing changes, because you're separate from some source. You're separate from your connection to the field. You're separate from the void source. Unfolding into the void source, into that unlimited place where all possibilities exist. There's nothing physical in the void source. You can experience with your senses. You can connect to that field and understand that you are there, and you unfold as nobody, no thing, no one, nowhere, and no time. And that you're no longer even a body. You're no longer a man or woman. You're no longer old or young. You're no longer Democrat or Republican. You're no longer anything. You are pure consciousness. In the realm of consciousness, of frequency, you can connect to any possibility. A thought of you being out of the present reality has a frequency. The longer you are conscious of that energy in the void, the unified field, and if you do it enough times, the doors will open up for you in ways that you least expect, and it will make incredible sense to you. So what we're going to try to do is put together a void source meditation. I'm going to go over some mind hacks on the next episode. Please let me know. Contact me by email if there's any topics that you want to talk about, any questions that you have. I'm willing to go over any questions. I'll access the void source for you and tell you what I come up with. Sometimes it's fun to help other people by me going into the void source. So also, I offer the ability to tailor-make guided meditations for you. So you can contact me at brian@advancedsuccessinstitute.com, and I'll be happy to get back with you. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. Thank you so much for joining me on this reality revolution. Thank you.